Hello and welcome. As you can see, I am in Daryl and Lynn's office. You might ask, why are you there? Why am I watching this? And who are you? All very, very good questions. My name is Sheri Downs. I am the mother of Christina Lynn Nicolette. And my daughter is married to Jeremy Nicolette, who is the son of Pastor Daryl and Lynn Nicolette. And what this podcast is going to be, which Christy and I were talking earlier today, and she said something about hidden gems. And that's kind of it. It actually encapsulates exactly the heart that I have for this particular podcast for the Faith Worship Center, is to have some interviews with people that are in the body. I'm going to start with the leadership. And I have my first interview with the wonderful, beautiful couple, Jonathan and Cindy Gale, next Friday. This is being shot on a Wednesday, and this is all brand new, so I'm not really sure how the beautiful production team is going to do this. I don't even know how any of this works, but I have been here for a few months now, and I'll explain a little bit about who I am and why this is important to me here in a second. But I'm here for only about 6 months out of the year or so, and then I'm with my son and daughter-in-law in Colorado Springs for the rest of the year with 6 granddaughters. I'm going 3 are on this side of the East Coast, on this side of the United States, and then my son and daughter-in-law are with my other 3 granddaughters in Colorado Springs. Well, 2, and then 1 lives in California, but they're all on the West Coast. At any rate, God has blessed me with 2 beautiful in-laws that my kids married, and they have welcomed me to stay with them part-time. I was a part of the Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry staff for 12 years. Bethel Redding is and was my home church for close to 30 years. And so I kind of grew up under the ministry that goes on there at Bethel, and was able to get trained up in ministry and leading a group every year that would come in for the first year environment for 9 months. And so basically I was pastoring a small little church, if you will, of about anywhere from 60 to 70 students, plus I had a number of interns that would help me each year. So I loved the environment. I loved what God was doing in me. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, I felt my mom had passed away, and I had come back from a trip with my son, who they blessed me with something that was on my bucket list to go to Jerusalem. And so Michael and I went to Jerusalem. When I got back, discovered that my mom was pretty sick and had been sick. And so that was a journey that I went on, and for the next probably 21 days, somewhere around in there, I watched my mom slowly pass into eternity, which was both glorious and very hard at the same time. At which time, COVID had hit, and she had actually passed away from pancreatic cancer, but they wouldn't see her in the ER when she was so sick because of COVID, and everything shut down. So there was a lot of fear going on, if you remember right. And so during that time, Bethel Supernatural School of Ministry went online. And I'm a very personable, one-on-one type of individual that I loved meeting with my students. I loved being interactive with them on a daily basis. And when we went online, everything just kind of shifted. I felt like that the Lord was starting to stir in me a move, which I never thought I'd ever leave Bethel. I grew up in Redding. Again, I had been in Bethel for a very long time, close to 30 years, and I never thought I would ever leave. Anyway, I found myself, I was offered a senior pastor position in San Francisco, of all places, during COVID. And little did I know I was jumping out of the fire pan into the fire. Literally. It was, the next 14 months was an eye-opener, and I had no clue what senior pastors actually go through until I was one, and it was very intriguing. At any rate, through that journey, and I won't go into detail, sometime maybe I will, but not at this point, and found myself with my son and daughter-in-law moving from Redding. Actually, I went back to Redding because of COVID. The church just couldn't afford to keep me on. And so I went back to Redding, and in that course of time, we moved from Redding to Florida, Central Florida, which is another whole story in and of itself, and sometime I will get into that. Anyway, so I actually live, and then from there, we were there for 3 years and moved to Colorado Springs. My daughter works for United Airlines and was stationed at, first of all, in San Francisco, then she went to Tampa Bay, and then she wound up in Denver, Colorado. But they live in Colorado Springs. So I spend half the time with them and half the time here. While I'm here, the stirring had only a couple of more weeks left to meet, and I had gone a couple of times, and I just felt like Sunday mornings, I just wasn't getting connected. There's just not enough time. And I understand that Faith Worship Center, I have been coming out to visit the kids, for as long as they've been here. I was there for 2 of my 3 granddaughters being born on the East Coast. And so I would come back every year for as long as I could. While I was here, I noticed that this is a church that people come from a long way. Like some travel a couple of hours. I met a lady on Sunday. She comes from Connecticut. And she can only come during the summer months because she's a school teacher. And during break, she can come. But otherwise, it's a long drive for her. I didn't ask her how long. I think I asked my daughter, Christy, how far is it to Connecticut? She said, it depends on where in Connecticut. At any rate, so a long drive. A lot of people from all spread out. And so I, was looking forward to the times that I could come on the Wednesday night, because I loved the way that they had it set up. There was, some interaction. They broke up into small groups, and we were able to talk, and I was able to meet some people that way. But I still felt a stirring. Ooh, get it? At the stirring, it was coming to a close, and I was being stirred. And I'm like, oh, that's a shame. Because in the fall, probably September or October, is when I go back to Colorado Springs. And so I felt like the Lord laid on my heart to do something online, which, again, that's not me. I don't like that. However, I also see the benefit of it. When we're not meeting together consistently during the summer months, it might be a great opportunity to just click on whenever you have the opportunity and watch the podcasts, because I'm going to be doing the interviews beginning again with the leadership. I felt strongly that I was supposed to start with the leadership just so that everybody got to know one another. Because even though you may have been going to this church for 35 years or 36 years, maybe from the start, but how much of each other do we really know? I know at Bethel, the whole time that I had been there, it too was a transitional type of church, and it kept getting bigger and bigger. And even though I was on staff, our staff even kept getting bigger and bigger, but we were all so busy. We would have once a year, we would have retreats before school started, or we would, have getaway times during the school season, but it was very few and far between. Every couple of months, maybe for a couple of hours to have lunch together. And that was it. And that wasn't a whole lot of time because we were so busy. It's like going down a locomotive going full speed ahead, and it's not a bullet train so that it's going so fast ish, but it's going fast enough that you don't actually get to interact with your co-workers or your co-pastors or your even the church, local church. And we had responsibilities, and so we were, either always on the prayer team or the worship teams or whatever it is what we were doing, teaching classes or whatever. And it was very seldom that we actually got to make some connections. And to me, the smaller church, which Faith Worship Center, many churches in America are about the size of Faith Worship Center, and some not even that big. But I see the beauty in it because we actually can slow down if we are intentional about it. I love the pizza Sundays. I love the stirring. During the summer months, it's a little bit more difficult. So why not utilize the online presence? And it'll double with another agenda eventually when we can have a little bit better of a production. Wouldn't it be cool to actually begin to reach out like the YouTube videos that the production team beautifully puts on each Sunday for live worship services, to have a presence, and people can ask questions in the moment. Eventually that would be awesome. So the podcast, I believe the consistency of it could still go on even during the months that everybody's meeting together, because I feel like it could be an outreach for people to get to know Faith Worship Center consistently on a regular basis. Some of the things that I have been noticing with podcasters is that the more consistent they are, the more I feel connected. I know it's kind of weird, right? You're in this camera situation, particularly if it's just one individual, which we are going to have a couple. You see my 2 empty chairs. This is kind of the setup. It's a trial run. And I am going to be interviewing them, but you're going to be able to witness what it is that I am stirring inside of me, so that when people walk in the door of Faith Worship Center, they actually sort of know some of the people already. I don't know about you, but when I moved to Florida and then to, even San Francisco, Florida, and then to Colorado Springs, and even coming here, it's not that easy to go into a church environment. And everybody says, oh yeah, we welcome people, they have greeters, and I just don't know how effective it wasn't that effective for me, because I was one of those that would come in and just sit down, and I'm shy. I am shy. Most people don't believe that. Once you get to know me, because I'm also very loud and demonstrative, and I'm a presence, but I actually am very shy. Everybody in high school always thought of me as the wallflower. Any high school reunions I did go to, they always remembered me as being the one that didn't talk very much, which I don't. In a crowd, I typically don't, unless I'm asked to. And unless I need to, I typically don't. So anyway, that being said, I think that this is a golden opportunity for Faith Worship Center to begin to connect, but then also eventually get out there and make a presence known for people that are in the area that maybe don't even know Faith Worship Center is here. I've talked, again, I've asked a couple of people, how did you even hear about Faith Worship Center? And they would say, the lady that I talked with Sunday said, she said, through the Sozo ministry. Or, I've also talked with people and said they, got online to see, what kind of churches were in the area, and they came across Faith Worship Center. I do believe that God will order someone's steps, and not everybody's going to feel like Faith Worship Center is their home, and that's fine. But what about if we showed people who we really are? family. Daryl and Lynn have done a phenomenal job. I was at their 4th of July gathering, and just the way they've created family, and everybody was having so much fun. I feel like people are looking for that, and the smaller church can actually help in that area to make people feel like they belong. And sometimes in church settings, from what my experience has been, and again, it's limited, and not all churches are the same, but most of the time the leadership does everything and then they burn out. And I was at several churches that I wanted to connect with the leaders, and they just didn't have time, because when they had a day off, they didn't want to be around people. What? I'm like, wait, what? You're a pastor and you don't want to be around people? That's a problem. Because we as leaders sometimes can get so caught up in just helping that sometimes we don't even realize we get exhausted. And then there's just so much happening, as we all know, in the world today. And so to create a place where you're going to get to know the leaders, you're going to get to know other people. Once I go through the elders and the leadership board members and that kind of stuff, I want to do the worship team. Who are the people up on the stage? But then I want to come to you, the ones that sit in the pew. I've been going when I can on Sunday mornings to the intercessor's prayer before church. And we having church inside that intercession room. You know what I'm saying? It's like explosive. And it's all most gray hairs, like me. I get it. In fact, yes, I get it. But there's gems in there. And they're pulling down heaven, and they're praying for you guys, the church, the community. What would it be like and it might be pulling eye teeth to get them to come, maybe, because not very many people are comfortable in front of a camera. I don't like it. It's vulnerable. So I don't know how many I'm going to be able to get, but my goal is to get everyone, all y'all, you know what I'm saying? Because I think it's important that we get to know each other. And even this isn't that, but it's a good starting place. So, yeah, welcome to, I think Christy came up with a good one. The hidden gem. That's good. But why don't you let me know what you think would be a good name for the Faith Worship Center podcast. I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope you will join us again when we get rolling next week with Jonathan and Cindy Gale. You're not going to want to miss this. Listen, I talked with them at the 4th of July party, and I was enthralled with their history and their story. Some of you might know it, but I might ask a few questions, who knows, that might pull something out that you didn't know. The hidden gem. I hope to see you next podcast. Bye.